Hello, you're listening to the Robot Wars History Podcast, a podcast where we chart the development of the show and the British robot combat scene in general by looking at key teams and bots. I'm your host Luke, and with me today is Nick.
Hello.
And Beav.
Heyo.
And today we'll be looking at the career of Dominator 2.
The good old plasma nitrite titanium king.
Less than 30 seconds and we have already said the
It's the main bingo of the episode, mate.
Right, yeah, so I might as well just, of course, ask this straight away. What is plasma nitrate? Because I tried to, research it, and the most I could find is, something that you find inside the body, and it's apparently toxic to humans, but which, there's no point in putting that on a robot, so does it just sound cool, or, is it actually...
They might have made it up.
I think it's one of those things where, a lot of people in their applications probably made up words so their robot sounded 10 times cooler than it really did.
Yeah, but Dominator 2 didn't need that, and...
No, I mean, to be fair, if all the producers had to go off of was Dominator 1 visually, then maybe they did need that.
Dominator 1 looked fine for the time.
It had a weird face.
So did every single other robot in the season. What does that mean?
It had unironic flame decals.
The Guy Fieri of robots. We've got a lot to cover with Dominator 2, so I guess we should spend a minute and not much more on Dominator 1.
Oh, yes.
A pinball-only entry. As Nick said, it had the weird face and the unironic flame decals. It's a weird-looking bot. It's just this kind of upfront face plow, basically, and then a back wedge. I don't think it did that well in pinball.
It's the thing, wasn't it quite ahead, though, in the scoring for a few weeks? It ended up finishing, solidly, modestly in the overall table, but I swear it was ahead for, a decent amount of time, and then everyone in a row beat it.
I think it placed second, actually.
Was it really
second?
second?
Placed second, and then, yeah, and then Razor just came in and thrashed everyone, because that's what Razor does.
Yeah. I feel that's all you need to say about Dominator 1. The only influence it had on Dominator 2 was the flame decals. So Dominator 2, very uniquely shaped robot in robot combat history. That kind of bi-wedge shape. I can't think of any other major bots that kind of went for that shape. It's a very unconventional.
I just can't
one.
think of any other robots that.
Yeah, I'm trying to know, but
I'm racking my brain, but I'm just coming up empty. And of course, that is odd because it does seem like it would work. It does seem like it's a way to kind of emulate forks, which, as we know from watching BattleBots last year, they are very useful in robots. But then of course, some of which I noticed while I was watching the fights, of course, the wedge tends to rear up quite a lot whenever it starts going into motion, which definitely works against the robot a couple of times, as we'll see.
It's not much of a wedge, really.
yeah, it's one of those designs which, it is good and it is cool, and it was definitely viable for a good while when it was active, but there were fights it had as it went along against some of the most grounded machines where it could get exploited because being a bi-wedge makes it have such long sides, so... But no, it looks very, very nice. I like it a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Dominator 2's first fight, it's in a melee with Seeded 101 and Henry 2, and not many better ways to debut than taking out one of the robots with the first hit in 6 seconds. It just slams its axe right into Henry 2's, I think, speed controller, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you could have a much better start to your entire career. Really.
Well, yeah, literally its first ever hit. So good, good, and so quick.
Maybe Hypnodisc had a better start. Maybe no, not Razor. Not really Chaos 2. Who else had a really good first fight? I'm trying to
Gravity.
think.
Yeah. Yeah, Gravity. Yeah.
But in terms of getting straight to the point, pardon the pun, this was literally up there. I mean, it was so quick that it even got a bloody GIF on the wiki.
What, the entire fight?
Just the hit, yeah, the thing that killed Henry.
Yeah. It's a shame for Henry looked like a solidly 6 out of 10 robot.
Exactly. We needed more solidly 6 out of 10 robots there in the melees.
Yeah. I mean, like Series 4 was a very extreme series when it came to quality, I found.
Yeah, its next fight is against a seeded bot, but far worse than Henry 2, Shadow of the... You can see the mismatch just in how they look, can't you? I mean,
Yeah.
Shadow of Napalm is a bot so shoddily built, Dominator 2 can actually wedge under them.
Yeah, like this is just a classic axe domination. Haha! There's a pun.
Yeah, they're just pot-shotting Napalm. They're just pot-shotting Napalm until they finally get Napalm near the pit, and then they try to pit them, but Kilowat has to.
Napalm doesn't just get pitted, it literally falls in half as it goes in the pit. Like, gravity, not the machine, but actual gravity makes Napalm get ripped in half.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I like, and of course, I like just before that, of course, like it is just left on the edge of the pit just for like a full 10 seconds, and just like, and it's just like, dude, just push it in, it's over, just please. Oh, it's incredible.
Comical fight. I think we should let Nick take over on this next fight because I know he's very familiar with it. Seen it many times, even if he wasn't aware.
Yeah, I've not just seen it many times. I've even dreamt about it. And by that, I mean that 101 versus Dominator 2 was a fight that when I met up with the very well-esteemed Robot Wars History Podcast members, Toast and TG, TG went out for, an early morning walk. And while I was still asleep, he had 101 v Dominator 2 playing on a loop in the meantime for me to try and subliminally convince me that 101 should have won the fight.
And did it work?
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far, but it was interesting to be half awake and just hearing about JP saying about that kid's toy at Christmas or whatever the commentary line was.
Oh, that is a classic line. Yeah. That is a classic line. I love that.
I genuinely heard that about 5 times.
I mean, it's an incredibly spirited performance by 101.
Yeah.
I think Dominator 2's offensive capability is just an insurmountable barrier.
Yeah, well, when you think that something like, I don't know, Dark Destroyer beat T2 on, like, insurmountable damage in Series 3, then I think, sadly, that's going to be the case for another fight like this, where any sort of damage is going to carry so much weight that it's going to be a bit too much. Like, they were both aggressive. 101 did well, but, again, the spike isn't exactly going to even out the pepper potting from Dominator 2, so...
But Nick, it's got exposed wheels. That means they're gonna get hit all the time.
That is very true. Can you imagine if 101 actually, like, punctured both of Dominator's wheels, like Tornado did to Gravity, and then you just had a hobbling Dominator 2 going around the arena?
Yeah, is this the first time we really see something that you'll see even in a Dominator's successful things? Its long sides allow bots to like come in from the side and just kind of control fights like that, but once they're able to get these bots in front of them and just start chaining in these axe blows, it just racks up the points so quickly.
Essentially, of course, like it is a robot that essentially wins fights due to, of course, just like staying on top once it gets that first hit in.
Yeah.
Once it gets the a first hit in, like it's pretty much finished at that point.
Yeah, it does take a while sometimes to find its feet in a fight, but as you say, once it gets a hit in, it can normally reposition itself, clamp down again, go for another hit,
and then it just wins the judges in the end.
Very good at those rallying attacks, as you say.
Yeah, and the fight against Firestorm, I mean, Dominator 2's design is very good at neutralizing flippers, because a boxy axebot, like you kill her to something, requires so much more leverage and power to get back onto its wheels, if it can at all. Dominator 2 is just like a flick of the axe is usually all it takes. But Firestorm is also probably one of the worst flippers for Dominator 2 to face, other than just like a super powerful cheese wedge flipper. Yeah, I gotta say, from what we saw, Firestorm seems like the clear winner here, but it's also one of those cases where you just imagine like how much is lost in the edit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the edit of this fight is utterly baffling. Like, why did they choose the shots that they chose? If if they knew that, of course, like Dominator 2 is the winner of this fight,
Yeah, it's proper
it
like
does not make any
Steg
sense.
versus Gravedigger type of editing here.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'd argue that it's even worse because, of course, like Firestorm gets so many more
Yeah.
like clearly good attacks in, while Dominator 2 only gets in a pretty good shot, which then doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, from what we see, Firestorm is just incredibly aggressive, and there's long periods where it doesn't let Dominator 2 get back on its wheels. So, I mean, really, Dominator 2's victory is just a testament to the importance of damage. Like, under almost any rule set used in a robot combat, fight, they all just inherently advantage damage. And it's true in Robot Wars, true in BattleBots, true in whatever, name your promotion. So, yeah, I mean, Dominator 2's able to do damage, Firestorm isn't, so...
That's the
Yeah,
fight,
and
yeah.
they even highlighted that in the clips afterwards, in the pits with the Firestorm team, didn't they? Saying about the scorecard they were given, so one of those things, really.
So Dominator 2 versus Pussycat. This early build of Dominator has a very obvious weak spot in its wheels. And there were very, very few robots that can capitalize on this, but Pussycat is absolutely one of them. But it's not just the wheels. Pussycat does significant damage all over Dominator 2.
Yeah, like this fight basically just like this is probably like one of like a Pussycat's like best like single fights in the entire show, I'd say.
It's definitely a statement fight. Like, it beat Razor already, of course, but here it's a full fight and it's very, very aggressive throughout in it. I do think that on another day, it did seem like Dominator's axe wasn't working properly here. So on another day, that could make things closer. But it was still a good fight nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean, Pussycat was able to get that very visually impressive shot of knocking the shell from its base.
Yeah.
That
And
was a
the
very
shell's
good
visibly
shot, yeah.
wobbling as the fight goes on. I mean, I can't imagine anything the Dominator does with its axe that is remotely as impressive looking to the judges as that.
Yeah. Yeah, simple facts for it. Just of course like Pussycat manages to get its blade in of course like underneath the shell, and at that point any hope that of course the Dominator 2 team had of winning is just gone. The second that hit happens, it's just over.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, though, there was one part of the fight where Pussycat nearly got hooked out of the arena by Matilda and Dominator pinning it in place in the corner. So that was a
Dominator
little
2,
moment there.
what a world that would be.
Imagine if it was like reboot Matilda with the tusks, Pussycat straight out of the arena. Go. Game changer.
So yeah, very impressive debut campaign from Dominator 2. Second round of the semi-final, incidentally, will prove to be their high point 3 times in Robot Wars. But that is not
in
the
fact,
end.
it's their like only high point. It is the
Yeah, it's
only
their
point
they
will ever
reach
reach.
second round semi-final 4, second round semi-final 5, second round semi-final 6.
Which I mean, like on the one hand, very impressive. On the other hand, extremely aggravating to get so close
yeah.
and fail at the exact same point every
I
single
was just
time.
about to say the same. Yeah, it always felt frustrating that one of Dominator 2 or Wild Thing or machines like that couldn't just have like one series where they went all the way, had a really good like terahertz-esque run to the final. Like, not expecting them to get to the actual title fight, but seeing one of those in the top 4 would have been really, really cool and kind of worth it for the multiple series in a row where they perform so well consistently.
However, I think it's worse for Dominator 2 because of course like each of their eliminations, I think they get worse and worse with each series.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll see as we move on. But yeah, speaking of moving on.
Yeah, it's not the end of their Series 4 campaign, as Dominator 2 features in the Northern Annihilator. And really, Dominator 2 is the best situated bot to compete here, because it's kind of angled by wedge shape, pretty much renders it invulnerable to, largely renders it invulnerable to weapons such as Kilohertz's axe. Stinger's mace.
Yeah.
And Chaos 2, and against Chaos 2, Dominator 2 is very easily able to self-right, and it very rarely, it almost never seems to run out of gas. So yeah, I think it's probably the best situated bot to win here. It obviously doesn't, as we'll cover, but yeah, in its round 1, its most consequential attacks are largely on Chaos 2, and
Yeah, like it just goes in on Chaos 2. Like it's actually quite incredible just to see how much they would just not leave it alone.
yeah, I mean, I think in live events, Dominator 2 did beat Chaos 2 pretty consistently during this period because they're very. I mean, Chaos 2 gets flip at them, Dominator 2 goes back over, Dominator 2 lands an axebot. What do you know? It's hit Chaos 2's gas bottle.
There is one video that I've watched a couple of times of them two fighting in like a very shoddily constructed live event arena, and it was pretty much as you described there. So yeah, but as you say, like there was, I think it was round 3 or 4 or something, where with Chaos 2 gone, as you say, the other machines just really couldn't do too much to it that were remaining. Like Spikosaurus tried to attack it at times, but would kind of run up its side trying to push it properly, and Stinger did nothing to it. Kilohertz just axed down the middle of its wedge, not actually hitting anything. Like, once Chaos 2 was gone, it really was its to win, and honestly, when you're looking at a full Annihilator performance, Dominator 2 is probably the most dominant in general. Maybe Disco Inferno's up there too, but
when you look at
geez.
rounds 2 to 4 of this Annihilator, Dominator is mostly just trying to bully Kilohertz, and it eventually gets it out because Kilohertz is a flat perspex box.
Yeah.
Dominator 2 can axe that all day, and then in round 5 they are absolutely battering Spikesaurus, and then they just die. Just something goes off inside or something, because their wheels are covered in. Something happened to Dominator 2. I don't know what it is, but it just dies.
Oh, it's infuriating. And I mean, like, right, so, like, here's the thing, of course, like, I know that, of course, like, it is not too uncommon for for a robot to just, like, win, and then it just, conquers out without any warning. But then, of course, like, you realize that, of course, like, this wasn't conquering out after a single fight of course, like, doing really well. This was, of course, like, dying after 5 fights of doing incredibly well, and that just makes it so much more infuriating.
And it was like the only time this type of thing happened to Dominator 2, full stop, so...
Yeah, it's just a season 4 Christmas special thing, really.
I always kind of like this, partially because this Annihilator is very chaotic, so Spikosaurus of all bots winning it is chaotic. And also, Spikosaurus is from Manchester, probably the only Northern bot in this Annihilator, so... It's nice that a Northern bot wins a Northern Annihilator.
Yep, that's right. The good old I guess you could call it the Midlands Annihilator. I don't know what to call it really.
I mean, Chaos 2's in there, and Ipswich is straight up in the south, so it's the national Annihilator more than anything. So yeah, we move on to Extreme 1. Dominator 2, it's modified the armor. They've welded blocks to the shell to keep it secured to the base. And later on in the season, they will have wheel guards, but not for their first fight against Wildfing. And that proves to be the difference here, probably.
Yeah, this is like a lamer version of the Pussycat fight, really.
Yeah,
like
it's not great.
And it is a pretty lame fight.
A couple of scuffs.
Genuinely cannot remember anything from this fight, and I watched it about an hour ago. So...
I just remember the highlights of this fight being a compilation of Dominator 2 missing a few axe shots, and JP being like, "Oh, they're gonna get 0 control points for that."
That does sound like Robot Wars Extreme.
Well, Wildfing's very maneuverable, and it's very good at kind of hugging Dominator 2's side, kind of chipping away at those wheels. And I mean, especially this Dominator 2, because they haven't yet upgraded the axe like they would in Series 6. It's not going to damage the several layers of armor that Wildfing has on top.
Yeah.
So Dominator 2 just does not have a chance to score any damage here, and it's certainly not going to win on control.
It's very notable early on in the post-weight increase that Dominator 2 is going to struggle to damage quite as cleanly as it did in Series 4, where virtually nothing put up a resistance to its axe, but
Yeah, Series 5, Extreme 1 Series 5 is not a good time for axes. There's pretty much not, I don't think
Yeah.
there's any that
no, I
make
mean,
any impact.
even Terahertz kind of just donks at Ming 3 a bit.
Yeah. The only other fight Dominator 2 has an Extreme 1 is against the Executioner in a Wildcard Warriors. Dominator 2 now sporting the wheel guards, not that it matters.
Yeah, I will die on this hill that, of course, like, this fight is the funniest fight in the entire show.
Oh, mate, have you seen the Series 2 Super Showdown?
Yes,
Yeah, that's bold word.
and I
That's
still
bold
think that
words,
this
but
fight
it
is the
is
funniest fight in the show.
it is comical. Executioner is just going for the pit, and then it kind of like bumps into Dominator 2,
Yeah,
and then reversing back just goes
that's
in the
kind
pit.
of what makes it more funny. Like, it's not even its own fault entirely. It kind of just clips off Dominator 2 at a really awkward angle. It'd be like if you're flicking one of your like Hot Wheels cars and it just deflects at an awkward angle and goes flying down the drain or something. Like, it is your
Exactly,
it's your fault
yeah.
for playing near the drain, but you're still a bit unlucky in overall.
Exactly, yeah. It's only, yeah, but of course, I think what like makes it even better is, of course, like when the Executioner goes for the pit button, it misses twice.
That is true. That is its own fault entirely.
like how did you miss the pit button twice? Like, I genuinely do not get it, but it's hysterical. It's absolutely hysterical.
So we move on to Series 5. Dominator 2 enters as a seed, and it has its first fight against Derek. Now, I don't know why Derek got Best Engineer. They had some impressive CNC work or something, but Dominator lands the most ineffectual blows you will ever see, and Derek just dies.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's a length thing, because I don't know what else it could be.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
your Best Engineered bot should be able to take more than a few hits from Series 5 Dominator, but okay, about what was.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like, I will say, of course, like, on the seed thing, I think they were underseeded. I think they got a very low seeds for how well they did in Series 4. Like, I mean, like, the 11th seeds? Really? I would have put them
Trying to
in,
remember
like,
who was
8
above.
or 9.
Trying to remember who was above them.
3 Stegs was,
Ooh.
so...
3 Stakes, you figure,
That's-
gets credit from Series 3 still.
Yeah.
hang on. I'll check the seeds right now, actually.
Wild Thing, they were also second round. Wheelie Big Cheese, I think that was just, I guess that's just having a very impressive weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, Firestorm, Panic Attack, Stinger, Razor, Hypno, Pussycat, and Chaos were above it.
Yeah,
as
you
far as
could
the ones
definitely
that
make a
listed.
case for it being 3 higher. Like, I would agree
Yeah, I put
with
it around
that,
10.
but at the same time, I do see what the producers were going for with those seedings at the same time, so...
Yeah, you can. I'd say maybe you can swap them with Wheelie Big Cheese. I wouldn't put them above Wild Thing just because of the similar placing and extra whatever heft you want to give to Thing 2.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Dominator 2's next fight is against King B, which King B is a tailor-made bot for Dominator 2 to defeat. But especially in line with what we were just discussing, Dominator 2, like, they get through the shell like twice.
Yeah. And it's not notable either. Like, one of the hits is right at the gap between the back of King B's forks and, like, its front of the chassis. So it's not even like a full penetrative hit. It's just like in a gap, really. So it's really having to work for these specific openings now that we're at the weight increase time.
Yeah, and I mean this is Series Extreme 1 Series 5 King B. They are not a reliable machine, so I don't know how the hell Dominator 2 did not score a knockout.
Yeah. It's one of those fights as well, which you're like, so the big boy was very underwhelming. The underdog was a bit underwhelming in itself. So, it's like a 5.5 out of 10 fight, but it's also not a dreadful fight. It's such a weird one, that.
It was all just a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
Really the best way to put it.
It feels such a shame for King B as well to drop out in this type of way. Such a nothing fight for a machine like this to just go.
Yeah. Speaking of absolute nothings, we then move on to the heat final, where it takes on in a massive heat of death, where you have Exterminator, you have King Bee, you have 13 Black, who isn't really there yet, but whatever. And yet, Dominator's final foe is Corkscrew, which is a robot that's not had a working weapon since its first fight.
Yeah, it is a heat of death, but in a way that when it matters, nobody is fully optimized. Dominator 2 does less damage than before. Exterminator at this time is not as good as it could be.
It's struggling.
Yeah, I mean, nominally
we'll be nice and say it's struggling.
Yeah, nominally this should have been Exterminator in the heat final, and on paper, Exterminator has the better design to beat this version of Dominator 2. But if they'd actually met, Extreme 1 Series 5 Exterminator is so unreliable and underwhelming. You couldn't back it.
Exterminator with its Series 4 pace could be a shout to do something in this fight because of its wedge, but as you say, it's got such a flat top still that Dominator would just probably win it on damage quite comfortably.
I wouldn't even back it on damage. It's just I wouldn't trust Exterminator to keep any kind of reliable pace through the fight at all.
Yeah.
Shame
that
Corkscrew is
just offered nothing here, though. Yeah.
Yeah, Corkscrew is not even a threat, but it's also just a dodgy target to land hitting. So Dominator 2 flips him, gets a flip KO. Don't know what else nothing else to say.
Challenge
Dominator
for the comments.
win by flip.
Name what flippers Dominator 2 has more flip KOs than. That'll be an interesting one.
God.
Probably TR2, AO.
Can't even go for that, but
yeah, I don't want to talk about Corkscrew anymore.
Understand. Let's talk about versus Wheelie Big Cheese.
Oh man, this fight.
Oh no. This is just
Dominator 2 semi-final fights are...
The Dominator 2's entire Series 5 campaign is just it's just a wet fart of a campaign.
I was just about to say the same thing. This is just a complete... This could have been in the heat. It wouldn't have felt out of place at all, because it was the exact same type of fight you were getting. This was a better start to the fight. It was a really good start to the fight, but...
Oh, it's a beautiful flip to start
this
off,
this could have been a proper all-time classic, this. And then Wheelie Big Cheese just dies.
Yeah, I'll give Dominator 2 some credit. It lands in very awkward spots when it does land, and it doesn't really compromise it at all.
Oh no, there's that one flip where it lands right on its own axe, and it does the nail scratching against the wall, digging into the arena floor. That was something.
Yeah, Dominator lands some glancing blows, but Wheelie Big Cheese just doesn't look healthy at all after the second flip. So I can't imagine those weak little glancing axe blows made the difference. I think Wheelie Big Cheese it shit the bed.
Yeah, and then it did the same in its Losers Melee as well. I have no idea what happened to it.
Yeah, and capping off a wet fart campaign, famously one of the worst fights in Robot Wars. I'll give Dominator 2 this. You can clearly tell the armor is improved, because Series 4, Pussycat, and Dead Metal, they carved into it.
Yeah.
When Hypnodisc hits it compromises it. It leaves damage, but it's not ripping off the wheel guards or anything.
No.
Yeah.
Its wheel gets jammed up, and that's what ultimately does it in, but the armor holds decently firm overall.
Now, I think this is the single worst fight in the entire show, honestly.
I don't want to go that far, because I don't think it should have ever been in the position to be dragged out as much as it was. If the judges just ended the fight and counted it out, it would have gone down with multiple other fights as just being a underwhelming, boring one-hit KO. So the actual action from the machines was kind of just underwhelming, bad, but not all-time awful.
I honestly, I don't even agree, because I think a fight where you get a Hypnodisc effectively knocking something out is still better than take your pick of Series 3 boxes bumping into each other for too long.
Well, you say that, but at least, of course, those robots actually try to engage. And yes, it's not the robot's fault, but it's still the fight that we got.
I mean, I'm not being funny. I prefer this. I prefer this over the fight that got Hypnodisc to this stage. I think the Firestorm fight's worse
Oh yeah,
Okay.
because at least this one has some kind of
I
memorable
don't really know what to say to that,
narrative.
to be
Like
honest.
they're both as bad as each other, but the fact that this is made out to be such a meme actually makes me like it more because it makes a shit fight to have some kind of memorability.
yeah. What you're gonna let Menton just tell you what fights are good and bad? No, thank you.
Yes, I am.
Has there been like a worse back-to-back
God.
back-to-back fights in a row for a single machine? Hypnodisc genuinely pulls 2 1 out of 10s out of its arse in a row. That is incredible.
And then it's best series too. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Well, sometimes you're just that good. Series 6, Dominator 2 thankfully makes some major upgrades. Their armor is significantly sturdier, and their axe I think might be more damaging relative to Series 6 than the Series 4 axe was. Their axe takes
I
a
love the
huge
Series
upgrade.
6 axe. The way it just slams down is just, it's incredible to watch.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is just like, I mean, of course, like stuff like that is why I absolutely adore axebots. Just watching watching axes like that go down. However, Dominator 2 did make a big change for the worse. The flames are gone.
I kind of like dull, boring looking Dominator 2.
Yeah, I like Dominator 2 as well. Yeah, I like it.
I don't. I can't get past it. The flames just.
It does look like a bit of a American 1995 robot machine. I agree, but I still think it looks cool with Dominator 2's shape and design.
You know what? I think it's because the armor is so much tougher. The axe is better. It's like Dominator 2. It's not having any more of that. None of that showy crap. It's just here to bust heads.
Yes. But no,
does it certainly bust some heads?
Yeah. In their melee, Dominator 2 does not seem to be 100% at all. It seems like it's struggling to move.
Yeah,
most of the time.
it definitely had drive issues on one side for a period of the fight.
But then even then, it seems like it just kind of controlled the fight very well.
Not really.
Like,
it's
it was just
very much
smashing
a Hydra. It's very much a Hydra fight. Hydra gets the initial flip on accident.
That's
it's
the thing.
flipping Dominator 2
If accident
multiple times.
doesn't die inside 0.4 seconds and something doesn't die just because, then it could have genuinely just dropped out immediately here.
That's being very, very generous there, Nick. I'm not going to lie.
I mean, true, but take 2 machines from the other melee, and Dominator would have been outlasted probably.
Yeah, if you drop this Dominator, let's say you drop this Dominator 2 into the Sir Chromo melee, it probably doesn't get out. No, it drops out.
But at least they learnt from the kind of awkward opponents that Dominator 2 got in Series 5 and actually gave it some machines that it could be pushed around by but also get stuck into in Series 6. It gives us some really good, entertaining fights for the rest of the heat.
Yeah.
Yep, just like against Smitzy. Oh, what a segue that was.
Yeah, Smitsy's very much on paper ideal matchup for Dominator 2, but those long sides, man, leave it very vulnerable. And while Dominator,
this is a very I mean, this is a good example of course, what I was talking about earlier, where of course, once it gets that first good hit in, then it just starts to gain. Then it starts to pick up speed until it's just clearly winning.
Well, I think
by the time the match finishes.
Honestly, I took the opposite lesson because its axe doesn't have the power of a terahertz to change a fight in one blow. Just through its general shape. Dominator 2 does definitely start building momentum up to the Growler slam, but yeah, it's the Growler slamming into Smidsy that just completely takes any fight out of it. And from there, Dominator 2 can just do what it wishes for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, and I mean, it does do exactly whatever it wishes. It's pretty brutal.
No, this is like the type of fight that you kind of wish we could have had from the King Bee fight in Series 5, but at least we got it here. It was really, really
It's a good way of
entertaining.
putting it, honestly.
Really good.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Smithy even gets a couple of lovely ref cam shots of its disc flying some sparks off of Dominator's armor as well. You know,
Oh, we always love to see
we
it.
do.
Yeah, and then Dominator in the Heat final fights Hydra, and Dominator is struggling at the start. The start of this fight looks a bit like the melee, where Hydra just keeps getting Dominator over, but once they start landing, it really shows the increased power of the axe coming through, because pretty much every single shot they land is piercing through the top plate.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a shot where I think, Hydra is, pushed against the wall. And of course, like, the, angle is, of course, like, right on the top of Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just littered with
Yeah,
holes.
that's the thing. They skipped over even more hits that Dominator landed. They would have cut those out from the edit, but God,
Yeah.
they were just such clean hits, weren't they? Pierced right through it. And
Now imagine if it fought BattleBots Hydra.
it's one of those fights where it's still a really decent fight for what it is, but you do feel like with what happened in the melee, it would have been nice if Hydra could have continued its momentum for a bit longer, like Smidsy did, and given us a bit of a dramatic ending turnaround from Dominator more than it taking advantage after like a good opening third from Hydra. But
yeah, it's just Dominator 2's ability to just kind of chain axe blows it with the same power as well. Dominator 2 never visibly runs out of gas.
Yeah.
Well, apart from the last fight we'll talk about, but that was more to do with Matilda. So it just beats any fight out of Hydra, and it moves on to the semi-final, and it's fight against Big Brother. Before I rewatched this, I kind of remembered the fight as Dominator 2 slowly beating down on Big Brother. What I forgot is that by the looks of it, Sir Killalot does the most definitive damage of the entire fight. Now, when Dominator 2's landing, it mostly lands right on the front, largely on the flipper mechanism, on the flipper arm itself. And then when Killalot grabs a hold of Big Brother, pierces into the wheel guard, that wheel does not. That's the wheel which seems to give out on them.
Yeah.
So I think, this seems more like a fight decided by Killalot than anything.
Yeah, it's
that's why the house robots are bad, Luke. I hate to say it.
It's another one quite similar in a way to the Wheelie Big Cheese fight, where it could have had the potential to be like a proper all-time notable fight, proper good one that goes all the way to the judges. Both machines have attacks, but as you say, it just kind of dies out midway through after a decent start, and it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, because I mean, for the parts of the fight where they are engaging, Big Brother is getting to those long sides, flipping them over, Dominator 2's landing, but yeah, I mean, obviously Big Brother's kind of top armor was weakened to bolster the sides, but that seems far more relevant for the Terahertz fight, although that Terahertz probably beats any version of Big Brother. But I don't think that narrative quite carries for this one. So how the house robots decided it. Unless of course we missed something in the edit, which we probably did. We probably missed 2 minutes of Dominator 2 axing an immobile Big Brother before Killalot comes in.
That is depressingly likely, yeah.
Yes.
So it wins, moves on to the second round. So of course, it must fall, and this time it falls to Tornado, and I mean, it is odds because of course, I had seen the end of this fight, of course, many times because it's a very iconic ending. You know, it's very, of course, it's very popular among people who, of course, like to think, what if X happens? And so, of course, yes, I have seen this fight many times, but of course, the fight which is leading up to that moment was a lot shorter than I imagined it to be.
Yeah, it's very short.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tornado, they kind of both meet into CPZ. Matilda lands a big shot, mostly on Tornado, and then Dominator 2 just drives into the pit. I do imagine if this had been an extended fight, as I said in the Tornado fight, Tornado would have won this. Because, I mean, Smidsy was troubling Dominator 2 for quite a while. And Tornado is orders of magnitude better than Spidsy.
Yeah,
So-
Tornado just seemed to have its number from the off here. Dominator 2 was spinning around erratically, trying to line up an axe blow, but it was never going to wedge under Tornado properly to land a hit on top. And
Tornado's brilliant at getting to the sides of bots and bullying them anyway.
Yeah.
Against something as long as Dominator 2, it could do that all day.
yeah, when
I think it depends, of course, like how much damage the a hit actually did to Tornado.
yeah, I mean that's probably why they ended up bailing for the pit immediately, because they thought they could probably bundle Dominator 2 down in the pit by getting a side-on hit, but they also didn't want to risk a potentially big hit on top if it happened. But from what we had in the opening exchanges, Tornado was very much well on top.
Yeah, I can't deny that.
Yeah. That's the end of Dominator 2's final main series campaign, but it still has 2 more fights in Robot Wars. We have Extreme 2 and their entrance into the All-Stars, their first melee against Spawn Again and Hypnodisc, and Dominator 2's armor is so impressive. When they fight Hypnodisc, who, despite what absolute cretins and fools think, is still just as powerful as it ever was.
Yeah, they didn't make it weaker, lads. It's just weaker to certain machines that are well armored now.
Yeah, the disc hits Dominator head on the bi-wedge, and obviously when you've got that thin very thin where the pieces of armor meet, it might just do visible damage. But they hit Dominator 2 on the side and back at full speed, mind you, or very close to it, and they don't really leave a mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not just that, of course. Like Hypnodisc is actually, of course, like being thrown around slightly.
Oh yeah,
so, of
definitely.
course, like
it's very
yeah.
violent.
So of course, like this, yeah. So like, to me, this fight is like kind of the grandpa of course, like the fights in BattleBots. Of course, like where you see a tombstone just like being thrown around because it just like grazed a wedge or something.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the.
What this fight is like to me.
Definitely one of the more earlier, more notable fights where it's big, beefy spinner against big, beefy armor. Obviously,
Yeah,
obviously it is
it.
relative to its time still, but no, as you say, it was still impressive, and even now the deflections that ended up happening were still very eye-catching.
What this really tells me.
Meanwhile, Spawn Again's doing absolutely nothing.
Well, Spawn Again flips Hypnodisc a few times, but
Yeah.
what this really tells.
Oh wow, look at them! I think Hypnodisc crazy.
What this really tells me is that one-on-one, Dominator 2 probably beats any spinner that isn't Typhoon 2. At least in the UK.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then what do you know? They lose their next fight to a considerably weaker spinner than 13 Black.
Oh,
But that's really because of Matilda.
It is.
Bloody Matilda.
Oh.
Yeah, they fight 13 Black, and while they're in the CPZ, Matilda gets a massive hit on him.
Yeah, it's Matilda. It's Matilda down in that CPZ again, just like the semi-final fight against Tornado.
Yeah, gas is just pouring out a Dominator after this Matilda impact, so it clearly did very, very considerable damage.
And I mean, it's a shame because, of course, like what should be the, of course, like main takeaway from this fight is, of course, 13 Black, just of course, like being held by one of its discs, just like being slowly dragged towards the pit, and it's just staying out every single time. But it's
pretty remarkable. Pretty remarkable that 13 Black managed to make a dramatic judge's decision out of a fight where its opponent lost drive early on. It was entertaining, but it's still pretty impressive that it managed to do that.
Yeah, if Dominator 2 had just been able to avoid that Matilda impact, it would have been easy street because 13 Black could not put a scratch on this thing.
No.
Yeah, if Dominator 2 had managed to do that, it would have fought Razor next, although I do think Razor would probably just hug that out to a boring judge's decision.
That would probably be a really boring fight. Yeah,
you see, of course, like people see the very sloped sides, and of course I think that, of course, like, oh hey, of course, like Razor wouldn't be able to get a good bite on that. However, they say this forgetting about the wheel guards, which are a very, very easy place to bite into, and also contain the wheels.
Yeah, if Smidsy
So,
can, if
Razor will win.
if
Razor
Smidsy
wins
can
that
control, if Smidsy can control Dominator 2 from the side, what do you think Ian Lewis is going to do? So yeah, Dominator 2 did not enter Series 7. The team built a Dominator 3. They kind of abandoned the bi-wedge shape for a more conventional wedge
Yeah, it just looks
shape.
off. It just looks off to me.
Yeah, it looks very strange. It competed in a few live events around just after Robot Wars, and then they
Drops off the
retired.
face of the earth.
Yeah.
And really, on that very anticlimactic note, that's kind of it for Dominator 2. Actually, of course, do we know exactly, of course, why they weren't in Series 7?
I think if I remember correctly,
I think we need space here.
if I remember correctly, I think they just weren't ready. They simply weren't ready because I believe they were one of the teams that was originally on. That was, I think, Robot Wars magazine or something.
Yeah.
They released a seed list of the intended seeds for Series 7, and I think Dominator 2 was one of the bots that was on it. So I think very shortly
I believe
before
it was 5th. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a 5th seed.
That would make sense. I mean, that would make sense. They were a second round semi-finalist.
Yeah.
But yeah, they dropped. I think they dropped out very close to the to filming.
Ah, boo. That's what I say.
So yeah, I mean, looking at its career as a whole, Dominator 2, it's pretty clearly the most accomplished Xbox of Robot Wars in general.
Yeah.
I think it is the axebot.
Well, it has to be, doesn't it? Three second round semi-final appearances. No one's matching that.
Should have had
it's also very much an Xbox that could never ever exist today with any kind of success.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if they were asking
like,
machines to come back
Nick
for the
was
reboot.
absolutely right. Like it should have gotten some kind of trophy. It's actually kind of a crime that it didn't get anything.
So yeah, usual routine. What's everyone's favourite fight? I'm gonna say. Well, I mean, Novel Annihilator is my favourite technical fight that Dominator 2 was in, but my favourite fight where Dominator 2 played like a central role and was the winner, Smidsy, gotta be.
Yeah, probably so here well, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would say my favourite is the Hydra fight.
Interesting. Toast will not be happy. No love for the 13 black one.
Well, of course, if you're happy with that, then he should have been here.
Your favourite Dominator 2 fight can't be a fight where it loses drive in the first minute or so. Come on. That's sicko behaviour. The worst fight, take your pick of Series 5.
Do we need to ask that? It's clearly Hypnodisc.
Take your pick of Series 5. Honestly, any of them can be the worst fight. They're all really bad.
Easy.
Derek,
Don't even have to think about
just
it.
because I don't even remember half of it.
There's nothing to remember.
Because there wasn't a half of it. It was that short.
Yeah. That will be it for today. I've been your host, Luke. With me today has been Nick.
Mm-hmm. Very good stuff
and
again.
Beav, and goodbye.
That was me. Goodbye.